And action. And welcome everybody. This is PnP Weekly episode 228. Today is 24th of November. We're recording this on a Friday because next week will be where, Waldek?
Actually, it's not next week. It's as you're watching
this week,
it.
As we are watching. Well, depending on when you're watching this. So again,
we're going to be
point
at
of recording.
ESPC 23 in Amsterdam, in the Netherlands.
Yes, that is correct.
Everybody's coming to my turf.
Yes. We'll talk about definitely on the Amsterdam and feedback from there as well within the show, within the upcoming episodes after the Amsterdam setup. Anyway, episode 2023. My name is Vesa Juvonen. I'm a principal product manager in Microsoft 365 with me as a co-host. Trying to remember these things. Yes.
Hey everybody, my name is Waldek Mastykarz and I'm cloud developer advocate for Microsoft 365 and Microsoft.
Excellent. Today we have an interview with Cat Schneider. She is a Microsoft Biz Apps MVP and been around for a long time. A relatively recent MVP, actually. I think it was from June this year.
Correct.
And she's working in end site named company as a Power Platform developer. So we talk about what does that mean and the experiences and transitioning. And she has of course, a lot of knowledge across the Microsoft 365 as well. But I guess without any further ado, let's jump on the interview with Cat.
That rhymes.
Welcome, Cat. Thank you, Waldek. Now, welcome, Cat, on the PnP Weekly episode 228, I guess is this one. So thank you for joining on the chat. Let's start with the basics. Who are you and what do you do for a living?
Okay, well, I'm Cat Schneider, which should explain a whole lot. Maybe not, but who knows? Here we go. Cat Schneider, I'm an MVP for business applications just recently as of June of this year. I work for a little company out in Napa Valley, California called Insight. They're an MSP and I am the Power Platform developer for the company. So I'm helping our clients move from Excel spreadsheets into Power Platform and all of the like.
Yeah.
So,
wow, that is so cool. That is the most exciting field because the biggest opportunities for things to turn into an app are in Excel, right?
Yes, exactly. I've got one right now that I just went through, and I mean, it's hundreds of Excel workbooks. And I was just, whew, that's a lot, guys.
That makes me almost immediately want to ask, what is the most
complex?
What's the right word for it? Outrageous, absurd, creative use of Excel you've ever seen? Oh,
well, I mean, we can talk about the things that I've done in Excel long before I found SharePoint. So I used to work for the state of Florida. I worked at Department of Environmental Protection, then I worked at the Florida Department of Transportation. But while I was at Environmental Protection, I actually created an Excel workbook that I pushed a button in the workbook and it logged into the EPA data website, went into all of the places that it needed to go to and downloaded millions and millions and millions of records of data that we all had to review once a year, basically, just with a single push of a button. And then all of that information, all of it uploaded into SharePoint.
Was that a VBA, typical VBA script? Yes,
macros.
Yes, macros.
Yes. Good old days.
Yes.
And have you recorded them, like press the record and then click around, or just actually wrote them in VBA?
So it took me the longest time to realize there was a macro recorder. So I learned all of the VBA. Then I found out about the macro recorder. And then I was like, this is trash. Like, what are we doing? I mean, it works if you don't know macros and you don't know VBA.
True.
But you know, when you do know it and you press record, you're like, what are you doing? What is this?
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's so much easier if you would do X, Y, and Z as opposed to all of that, right?
Yep. Yes, exactly. So
now, has that VBA experience helped you to write stuff on the Power Platform? Just out of curiosity.
Oh, 100%. I will say it was an interesting jump into the Power Apps, if you will, because I went from VBA into Power Apps, and at the time I had a mentor who was our CIO for the organization, and he loved programming. Like, he was just in Python on a regular basis, just programming, just because he wanted to keep his skills sharp. Because, he's the CIO. He needs to know what our programmers are doing and, keeping up with all of that. So I learned a lot from him. But the one time I got into Power Apps, I was like, all right, I'm going to do this. So I got the headphones, noise canceling headphones on. I had the hoodie on. I had the computer screens open, and I went all night long. My husband came out.
I'm in.
I'm like, I'm a hacker. I'm in.
Yeah.
But I literally spent all night going through all of the bits and pieces that I found in a sample. And I was just like, I'm going to figure this thing out. And I did eventually figure it out. And it was the greatest thing I had ever done. So.
That is so cool. That is so cool.
We lost Vesa.
No.
Yeah,
I'll be back in a second.
Connection. He does that all the time. You talk to him and then he's gone, and you're like, well, you're talking to the chair now. There you go. There's a dog instead of him.
Screen.
Yeah, like what is he doing? He's going to dress.
It was cold.
He's cold. There you go. Like you.
No.
He got cold.
You mean the hacker look?
Oh yes, that look.
Yes, and then you need to say, I'm in.
The sunglasses and everything.
I'm in, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm missing that and that one. And, so. Here we go.
Yes.
I'm in.
You're in.
I can give that a 7 out of 10 for the effort.
Yes.
No. I have like 25 of these from many years. So I can always
see. I
them.
don't have any of the Microsoft ones. I'm hoping to get an MVP one at Summit. We'll see.
You'll definitely get, and hopefully you can join MVP Summit on next March. Now the doc is concerned.
I've already got it put away on my calendar.
Oh, there we go.
Asked for time off and everything.
Cool. Oh, there you go. It's actually pretty hot in here. I can't do this, so
I don't have a
it's
hoodie. I am not in.
I have hoodies all around me. I'm in Florida, but I'm also always cold.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I guess that's the aircon problem. What we keep on having in the US, whatever reason, you always put the aircon max. So.
Yeah, my husband works outside, so. He's got the temperature down all the time, and I'm warm-bodied, so we'll be here in the winter, 60 degrees outside, and I will have the little space heater on in my room, and my husband and child will like, nope, we're not going in there. It's not happening. That's a sauna.
Yes.
Well, you're just talking about a thing that the person there now like knows about way more. So like sauna's like
maybe
wait 60 Fahrenheit sauna. That's not.
Yeah,
it depends 60 degrees outside, and then I have the space heater on in my room, and they're like, "That's a sauna. We're not going in there."
Oh, but it's like that would still go to what 100 degrees, like 110.
I'm a good comfortable at 110. That's
there you go.
Nice.
That's not sauna, right?
Yeah, the sauna is 170 Fahrenheit or whatever.
I was the very pregnant woman who walked out of the business building in the middle of August and went and sat in my car with it off, just doors closed, and just sat there because I was frozen solid.
Wow.
I was just like, please, I sat in that for 8 hours. I need warmth now.
Okay. We will know, like, if we ever get to organize any events, we will get you extra socks.
Yes.
that is my thing. I'm still looking for clippy socks, man. That
would be nice. Yeah.
I want some list socks, some SharePoint socks, some clippy socks. That's all I'm asking for.
I think clippy is a bit of a challenging thing because I think officially we should not be promoting that as a, if I understood the situation internally correctly.
Unless it's tongue in cheek for those who get the reference nostalgia thing, right? So
correct.
It's not,
correct.
Yes.
So there's a certain level of a concern always on using.
I can be nostalgic about my socks. Yes.
Yes. Okay, let's get back on. That was an interesting detour. So,
one of many to come, right?
Yes. Now, anyway, on as you transform the Excel and stuff, there's no access involved, right? Just double checking. So are you doing access
actually,
as well?
that's kind of my transition. I went from Excel into Access.
Yep.
And that was a funny story because I had built an application in Access that went out and connected to Google Maps, that connected to our internal databases, connected into everything. And I was asking my developer friend, and I said, hey, so I need to access all of our internal documents with this application. I was like, can you come up and take a look at this with me? So we sat down. I showed him all of the doodads and bells and whistles and all of that. And he's looking at it, and he just stops and he's like, you built this? And I was like, yeah, I built this. I built it for all of our call center people so that they can get access to what they need whenever somebody calls in. Yep. And he's like, yeah, but you built this from scratch. And I was like, yeah, I built that. He's like, why are you not in California? He's like, what are you doing? It's like, why are you working in government? You like, your mind needs to be working on all of it. You could be making so much more. And I was like, yeah, but that's not the thing. I'm not doing this to make money. Like, I'm doing this to help out my people. Like, yep. I've always been about my people, like making sure my people have the tools that they need. I'm willing to ride the struggle bus so that others don't have to.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a great mental mindset for community stuff as well. So good that
and it's 100% like we had at MPPC, we had the community thing with April and David and Hugo and all of them, and they brought me up on stage to kind of talk about my involvement in the community, and they were like, what is it that drives you about the community? And it's like, it's the people.
Yep.
Like, it really is. I don't know how else to describe it other than it's the people. I enjoy helping people try and figure out some of the things that I might have struggled with.
Yep.
And making it somewhat like easier to break down and understand. Mm-hmm. So
I think that's because so you get to work with a lot of folks. You get to hear a lot of struggles and you help folks. In other words, like you put your work out there for folks to use, but also I can imagine for folks to criticize. Does that happen? And if so, how do you deal with that?
I haven't had much criticisms. More like I haven't been out there as long as most people. It's something like I've been building community forever. I've been building community, and getting into the MVP program. I was surprised because while I had been building community in the government spaces, MVP was not anything that was in my mind as something that was attainable because I was government, and government is completely outside and forbidden from participating in the MVP program. So it was never something that I thought was attainable. And then at MPPC 22, somebody had come up to me and they're like, hey, have you ever thought about MVP? And I was like, no, I'm in government. Never crossed my mind. And so like, it's at that point in time, it's crazy ride for me because I was in government. I'd been in government almost 15 years. And at MPPC, I had already had one offer from the company that I'm working for now. And in the middle of that week, I got another offer from Microsoft. And so I had to make a decision if I was going to go with Microsoft or this other company. And I ended up deciding to go with the other company just because it was a company that I already fit with. I'd met all these people. It was just, they were about community. They were about bringing people up, helping people along. Like, it was about people for them. And then I was like, oh, okay, this is the company for me. This is where I should be. This is who I should be working with. And then Microsoft, and I'm not going to lie, Microsoft came at me with a bunch of numbers. There were a lot of them. Yeah. And for somebody who's working in state government, it was very hard for me to comprehend those numbers at the time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I went back and I talked with the company, and I was like, listen, this is what Microsoft is offering. I mean, I know you guys are a whole 140 people strong. You would never be able to compete with Microsoft, but would you be willing? And sure enough, they came back a couple of minutes later. Absolutely. Like, there was no counter negotiation. It was just, we're going to do it.
Brilliant. Oh. That only proves the point that you're in the right place, right? That they really want you to work with them. And that is really cool.
Yeah.
Right? That you can find that kind of place.
And of course, it's not like Microsoft is out of question in the future. It's just You can always come back and find that career in Microsoft as well.
We can always throw more numbers at you.
Right. Now that I have a little bit more comprehension.
True. True.
Yeah. No, it would have been crazy just to be there, like at Microsoft, like, in this transition. Because I mean, what was going on in Ignite last week? Just, I don't.
Speaking of which, your favorite announcement, and you only get to pick one. Your favorite announcement from Ignite 23.
There were so many of them.
But you only get to pick one. Favorite child.
Like, okay, so I'm still trying to go and process through all of these. I don't know. I'd have to say the Copilot Studio, that was pretty exciting. I know it's like the consumption of PVA into it, but the fact that we have the ability to have our own Copilots and building our own Copilots, like that's really exciting for me. And it's really exciting for me because being the Power Platform developer for my company, part of my quarterly goals, if you were, is to have webinars, host webinars for our clients. And now I have all of this material to talk about Copilots for our clients and how Copilots are going to change the game for them. If only we could somehow manage to figure out the Microsoft 365 Copilot for small, medium-sized businesses.
We hear
patience. Yeah, I guess you're not the only one who's asking that. We'll get there for sure. We just need to be a bit patient there. So.
Yeah. No, I like to like throw in a little jab every now and again. I know it's coming, but you know, just a reminder that we're still out here. We're still waiting.
Now?
No. Yeah. Tomorrow, maybe? No.
Yeah.
So.
That would be super if you could somehow manage to make that happen.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly it's going to happen, but we'll see when. So that's true. And anyway, having then potentially the options of creating your own Copilot, integrating that with Microsoft 365 Copilot, and having API discussions and all of that stuff maybe in the future would be really, really cool. So again, there's a lot of interesting opportunities there for sure.
Yeah, I will say that the one thing that I'm really looking forward to with this M365 Copilot and just all of that is making my job more accessible to me.
Yeah.
Like, I have ADHD. Like, it's not something that I've hidden. It's something I've been very open about. It's been something that I've been living with for almost 8 years now, where it's been a struggle for me. But knowing that I had ADHD, it's a matter of trying, like, trial and error, see what works.
Yep.
Copilot is just, it's changing the game. Just from what I've been able to do with ChatGPT and just the Bing Copilot. Are we calling it Bing Copilot, or is it Microsoft?
Microsoft Copilot nowadays. Yes, we just renamed that last week. Yes.
But like all the things that I've been able to accomplish with that, like getting over that initial, how do I do this? How do I get started on that? That has been so significant.
So can you elaborate on that one a bit? Because what I mean is that the chaos, as in you don't know how to get started, procrastination, all of that stuff. But then you go to the chat and say, "How do I get started?" You can actually ask from the chat, and then it gives you a starting point.
It's crazy because, like, there are times where I'm like, I have ideas. It's not that I'm incapable of coming up with ideas. It's just I have so many ideas. It's hard to get a hold of them and put them in some manageable order. And so being able to go to Copilot or ChatGPT or whatever and just say, hey, I need an idea for this, but prompting it in the correct way so that I get out of it what I need, that has been the true test.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Well, and that's why GPTs, which OpenAI released or announced a few weeks back, was really interesting, because again, then it's no longer for you to understand prompting and system prompting and prompt engineering. You will have a dedicated chat which is already fine-tuned for that particular use case. And I guess our Copilot Studio thinking is heading to the same direction as well, so that you as a designer of the Copilot can actually define the system prompt and adjustments and all of that. So you don't have to, as an end user, I'm pretty sure that within a few years, as an end user, you don't need to be a prompt engineer. You don't need to understand what that is. It's all fine-tuned for you in a more easier way. So
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting ride these next couple of years, because I can foresee many developers who were developers, true pro developers, going, hey, I'm going to go into the AI space and I'm going to work on this and I'm going to start developing Copilots and GPTs and all of that. Like, I even built a GPT just for myself when they announced what was it, a couple of weeks ago at OpenAI Days or whatever. I was like, hey, I can go in here and I can make my own GPTs. And I made myself an accessibility GPT. I give it an image. I'm like, hey, write me the alt text for this.
Yep.
That's
really
all I
cool.
have to do.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's really cool.
Like,
nice. Yeah, and it's exactly that. Like, it's these, you start with small things, and then you understand, like, hey, like, what can I use this thing for more? Well, right, and then you kind of go from there, helping you, as you say, like, get more grip on your work. That's really inspiring.
Yeah, it's just, it helps me do the things that I need to do, that I can do, but it gives me something to start with, because not all the time is the text right.
So, but so if you think about your work, like, so much of it is in your head. How much do you need to explain it up front so that it is able to help you prioritize, pick the things, whatever, versus does it just get it off from a bullet list or something?
I think it really just depends on what it is that I'm trying to do. So, like, there'll be times where I'm trying to write a blog post and I'm like, okay, I know what I want my blog post to be about. I'm just not sure how to get started with it. And so I will say, hey, give me just an outline of a blog post. This is what I'm trying to go with. And it'll go out there to spit out, hey, you can do this, that, the other, blah, blah, blah. And a lot of times it's trying to write the whole thing for me. And I'm like, no, pause, time out. I don't need all of that. I will fill in the meat and potatoes. I just need the bones.
Right. Huh. Interesting. So is it because you want to write because you like to write, or is it because you have your own way, the way you write, the way you phrase things, and you want that to be clear? You want it to be yours as opposed to coming out of AI?
It's not even necessarily that. So what I struggle with is writing just in general. Like, I'm almost positive I have some form of dyslexia. And I've always kind of noticed it throughout the years, but it's never been something that has hindered me from doing anything.
Yeah.
I think just what comes between the ADHD and potentially dyslexia is writing and getting my thoughts out in a linear structure. And so with ChatGPT, I can go to it and I'm like, listen, this is what I want to write about. I just need an outline. And then it can help me outline. And then I go from there and I fill in with the information, because a lot of the time ChatGPT does get it wrong. And it's not, I don't want to put wrong information out there. I also don't want AI to be the one putting the information out there, because AI likes to hallucinate just a little. So, likes to put out some wrong information. I've caught it
which
too many
looks
times.
perfect, by the way. It's quite often, it looks like, this is smart, but this is completely wrong.
Yes, it totally makes sense. But you start asking it where it gets the information from, and it's like, oh no, it's this, that. No. Where did you get it from?
Oh, look, squirrel.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, look over there.
Yes.
So, it's been definitely, it helps out. Like 100% it helps out. And anybody who says that AI is going to take our jobs, I don't think has understood what it means to use AI. Like, if I can take a step back to a couple of years ago, I actually went to school for studio art. I actually went to school for two things. I went for biology, graduated, started working for the state, and found out that the state would pay for credit hours. So I went back to school for studio art, and I learned ceramics. And ceramics is very much a Neolithical type art. It is an ancient art.
Yeah.
It is something that has been around forever, because we obviously have entire branches of social sciences dedicated to it. But it's an art that is still going. It's something that people are still doing.
Yep.
And for people who accept that art is changing and accept that the tools are changing, they're able to incorporate some of those tools into their art and make something that is so much more just what is going on here. Like, this is incredible. So to just completely discount the new tools that we have available to us is to just cut your nose off in spite of your face. Like,
yeah, I get it. But I think you can go about it in two ways, right? Because like, especially over the last few years, there's been going on, like at least I've seen in a few things, especially around craft. There's been like this going to basics, like doing it the way we used to do it in the past, and whether that's being, I don't know, like forging knives or axes, or building things like building chairs out of wood, like, you know, like going really like, yes, we know we have these tools and we can, you know, just like poop out chairs in thousands units a minute, but we don't want that. We want to have bespoke, and we don't want them to be straight, and if you put 5 in a row, they're all not quite the same. So we want that authentic way of doing things that we used to do. And it's kind of this interesting thing where I wonder if we ever get that with, you probably see a lot of the same thing with apps. Like, there are apps that are just like, you know, dime a dozen, like it's the same thing, cookie cutter things, you know, there's interfaces, like it's the same thing. And there's like, somebody came up with a brand new idea to do things in a different way. And whether that's new UX or whether that's new design paradigms or something else, but there's this kind of two-way things where we want to do things at scale, quickly solve problems and move on. And then there's this art way of approaching it, you know, and doing it in a unique, bespoke way. Even if we know that it costs way more than it will eventually yield, and we do it just for the fun of it.
Yeah. I am very much a person who believes that whenever you're trying to learn something new, you have to play with it.
Yeah.
If you're just doing it just to do it, it doesn't really stick. But if you're playing with it, 100%, you'll start to understand it a lot more. And so, like, I've even put forth a couple of workshops with Keith Atherton for MPPC, or not MPPC, that's not yet, M365 and ePPC, where the whole intent of this is for us to have fun, like complete shenanigans, but, you know, let's just have fun for people to learn how to use the Power Platform. We 100% want to get people, you know, certified. So we want people to, you know, have the tools and the information that they need in order to go in and take those first couple of certifications for the Power Platform. But we want people to have fun with it. And so I'm hoping, if I can put this out to the, you know, the workshop gods or whatever, like, hey, pick our session, because we're gonna have fun with it. And I mean, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be great.
I wonder to what degree you will not only help people to learn Power Platform, but you will help people discover something about themselves and actually learn to learn.
True, which is important as well. Yes.
They don't teach you how to learn at school.
No, they don't. They really don't. And actually, I take that slightly back, because when I went to art, like went through the whole art side of things, I learned more about learning taking art than I did about biology, like going through biology, because it was about self-exploration. It was, here are the starting tools that you need. Now go out there and find whatever else it is that you need in order to make your art.
Is that analogy, right? So could you say it the same way, right? Like, if you get to play with tech or whatever stuff, and you explore things, you get to learn more than if you have a job to do, clear task, time is money, you know, you gotta ship it, and then you kind of cut the corners, do it, you know, like, yes, you do your thing, but you don't necessarily spend the time to really grasp it, understand it, go to the bottom of it. So is that kind of the concept there, that if you have more time to explore, you learn things because you connect it to everything around you?
I think so, because even like the students that went through biology, those that had internships, those that had the resources or the ability to go out and explore further outside this main coursework, those were the ones that learned more or were able to figure out what it is that they were interested in, and they could go out and tinker and figure it out, this, that, the other. So just being able to like explore the things that interest you, I think is really where you end up learning the most, which kind of goes back to the ADHD. You know, find what interests you and then literally just learn all of the things about it. That's why we
gotta hear you.
Coming back on the VBA macro discussion, that comes back on tinkering and playing around and testing things and all of that stuff, and then that comes to be your experience, and you get to have that background, and then it's easier to use those skills again on Power Platform. So having that time to play around with things and testing things, that's experience, and then that experience helps.
Yeah, it also may have to do with the fact that I worked at Toys R Us for 5 years, 6 years, so the whole idea of play is just ingrained into my system. But I am a child, and I will never grow up.
That's good. Never grow up.
Don't have to.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't know if there's any evidence of this anywhere.
No evidence.
No evidence.
Nothing to see there. Well,
Age is just a number.
One of the things you point on there, which might not be obvious to everybody, it is to us because you pointed out to us too, is that bluish award there with the letters MVP. Yes, exactly. That thing, yes. So you mentioned you got it this year in June, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's changed?
My networking, like 100% has been networking, but I think mostly it's just having access to, I think, the product groups and being able to see some of the things that are coming out, and being able, like, that has been probably the most mind-boggling, crazy change for me, because I was first MVP at our company. And when I got it, everybody was like super stoked, but they were like, that's great, but okay, so what?
Yep.
And really, it has been super beneficial, especially like with Ignite. I'm like, hey guys, there's all of this stuff. You guys really should pay attention to these specific sections. And hey, there's all of this information that's changing. I can't tell you anymore because NDA, but this is some information that we really do need to know. But it also helps me when we're trying to come up with strategies to help with our clients and what they've got going on for the next year, to be able to say, hey, so I can't say anything about specifics, but I can tell you that we probably should move away from this kind of messaging and move more towards this kind of messaging.
Yep.
And
I would go there as opposed to
has the access on product group helped you understand more how things work in Microsoft, or has there been this kind of interesting, this is what interesting things. Okay, now I understand, because obviously every now and then people might be frustrated on when something doesn't happen immediately and all of that.
I wouldn't say that it's given me that kind of insight. I've gotten more of that insight just from not necessarily the PGIs, but the actual conversations. Like I at MPPC, I ended up having an entire night out with the Power Pages team and Priya over there, and talking to her and Bobby and getting all of the information. Priya even sat me down. She's like, here, tell me all of your problems. I was like, how long do you have?
Yeah.
And somehow I managed to get a few drinks out of that.
That's good. Yeah, that's a great deal, by the way.
It only proves the point, right? That feedback to us at Microsoft is invaluable. We need to hear. We build products for everybody out there, but we cannot do it alone. We need to hear from you folks. What's wrong? Where can we do better? How can we improve? What challenges you have? What things you're like? Basically the same thing. Like when we originally apparently shipped Excel, it was supposed to be this thing, and then apparently what was the number one thing people use Excel for? Tables, because it was just super convenient to make tables in, right? And it never occurred to us. Like it wasn't our intention, and yet it became the thing, right? It only proves the point that we need to hear, like there's the intended way for people to use what we build, and then there is the reality, what people actually try to do, and they're like, "You're doing what?"
Yeah,
That's interesting.
It's what I say all the time to people: is we don't know what we don't know. You can build your product, and you can see, this is what we're going to use it for. But at the end of the day, it's the end user that's going to use that product. And if you're not aware of how they're intending to use it, or what they're intending to do with it, or what other crazy innovative ways that they are using it, then you don't intend to build it that way. So.
And that's why actually so many product groups and PMs are interested on having those discussions with MVPs. So always a bit coach to PMs on, okay, so there might be some constructive feedback as well, because they might be a bit
MVPs too, like it goes two ways. It goes two ways,
absolutely,
right?
Absolutely. So
like I've been talking with the Microsoft designer team, I think, since February. And I found out about Copilot before Copilot came out as a thing. They were like, "What do you think about this term Copilot?" And I was like, what? And then it seems like the next week, everything was Copilot.
And you're like,
it was crazy. But I've been talking with them and working with them and trying to come up with ways of using it. And when I first got into it, I was like, hey, listen, so I come from a government background, and specifically what we were using, like some of these tools for, this would be perfect for this. But the way that it's currently set up, it's not manageable in that type of space. It needs to have X, Y, and Z in order to be used in that space.
Yes. And that's actually that's the core for PMs and Microsoft to understand. Basically, it's not just providing capabilities, but scenarios. And that's what we're trying to always ask. Don't ever come, well, it's good to say that something isn't broken, and this wasn't doing what I was expecting. Cool. What was your scenario? What were you trying to achieve is the key thing.
But also, the reality, there's difference. Like, it's one thing to say I'm a PM on a product, but it's a whole different game to build a product that is B2C versus B2B, or where the other B is enterprise or a government. Like, that's a different game, because you have all the things like regulation, compliancy, security, and so forth and so on, which aren't a thing in a B2C world, right?
Yeah, no, there's so, like, anytime I'm sitting down with, it seems like the product group, I'm like, but don't forget about GCC, because,
and they're
GCC
like, what?
gets forgotten about all the time.
Yes. Well, not necessarily forget about. The problem with GCC and government is one of those things, again, should we wait until everything is compliant, ready to go there as well, or should we go live with this without GCC support, get the feedback and make it better, and then put the GCC support on it? It's a really hard balance. And then of course GCC customers are like, why aren't you taking us into account? It's like, no.
There's a lot. And actually I found my way into the whole conversation with Microsoft to begin with because of our customer success manager for state and local governments. So I had been working with her previously, and just through conversations she was like, well, if you ever wanted to work at Microsoft. And I was like, I'm sorry,
not the numbers again.
Well, that was before numbers, because this was all like, I was still in government. I was like, what? No, I would Microsoft would never want me. Like, I don't have a developer background.
Apparently we do. Why not? That's really good.
So hey, I've got the MVP now, so there's the road to Microsoft right there.
That is a proven road to Microsoft. Guess what? Somebody in this call is a really good example of that road, right, Waldek?
Yes.
For me, yes.
So no, it's been good. I've enjoyed having this MVP, just having access to all of the other MVPs, having access to product management groups or product groups. Words, they're not my friends.
Now, on that particular topic, I know that we need to start wrapping up pretty fast, but what would be, from your perspective, what is the value for your employer around the MVP? We talked about some of that stuff already, but kind of recapping that.
It is a lot to do with being able to help focus our discussions with clients, and being able to help guide, like, hey, let's maybe not talk about this much more. Just nod, wink,
FYI.
Yes. It's not a good thing to talk about this anymore. But just being able to have have some of the information about some products that are coming out, and especially when I'm working with clients, I can help try and steer some of the product decisions with, okay, this is there. Like PVA, great tool. It's no longer PVA. And I knew about it no longer being PVA, granted a day before, it was no longer called PVA.
Yep.
But having some of that information ahead of time and having the conversations with the product groups ahead of time and knowing, hey, these things are changing and this is why they're changing, but having that insight into the why.
Yeah.
Like my developer friend said I was crazy. The same one who's telling me, like, why am I not working in Silicon Valley? Why am I not in California? Because I got so upset with Excel one day that I actually went and printed out the 2016 ECMA standards for spreadsheets. And it was...
I didn't know we had one, or there were one.
It was several thousand pages. And I was bound, set, and determined to figure out how and why I couldn't get something to work in Excel. Like, I'm a person who needs to know the hows and the whys and the who's and the what's and all of that. So having that access to the product groups gives me more insight into the hows and whys, because otherwise I'm just out here doing the same old scientific experiments going, okay, this is what I think is going to happen. Let's test it out. Nope, it didn't work. Now we got to change the test.
Yep.
So
that is actually really, really fundamental, because I still remember when I started in Microsoft and we didn't have that good documentation and some of the stuff what we were doing, but we had friends who started at the same time, and we spent hours and hours every single evening after the working days just dissecting SharePoint at the time, and how does it work. They must have thought about that, if to do this and this and this and this.
There was one fundamental difference, right? Like back in the days, if you wanted to know how a radio worked, like you would buy a unit, disassemble it, look in the box. Today there is no box. You don't get any box. Like everything's in the cloud.
Yes.
There is nothing to disassemble.
Even when we started, we were able to get access on the code, because that was the trick how we were able to figure it out, because it was an on-premises deployment when I started. So therefore you were able to dissect the code and basically have a look on it. How does it actually work? Nowadays, that's the work balance. You can't access the code anymore, which means that we need to learn by testing and playing around. Like Cat were explaining,
people like finding the right person, like who knows that button there, who built that?
Why did they do this? And then hopefully get the right answer. So
like SharePoint is my baby. Like I love SharePoint, and came from a situation where I was baptized by fire in SharePoint. Had to figure it all out on-prem, and then right before I left, it was, hey, we now need to migrate everything to the cloud. And so it was, okay, we're going to migrate everything to the cloud, get that all done. And then I ended up in this job, and it's a company that we use SharePoint. We migrate our customers into SharePoint, but we're not maybe doing the best of jobs with it. I may have had a couple of conversations with some people going, okay, we need to do better by our customers. We need to do better. And then finding out, hey, now we've got this all new SharePoint Premium coming out, and it's supposed to, basically incorporate Copilot. Like, if we don't do what we need to do in order to help our customers get their information set up appropriate, it doesn't matter if there's a SharePoint Premium or if there's no Premium and we're trying to get a Copilot working, it's not going to work, because the time-tested quote, as it is, garbage in, garbage out.
True.
So
I was just about to say the other day there was this really cool slide. I think it was from what's his name, Matt. I think he made a periodic table of M365. There was this poo emoji in Copilot, and then you get a poo emoji in the rainbow colors.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like basically that. Like you put the code in, you will not get anything meaningful out.
True.
Yeah.
True.
It will just get something nice and pretty, but it won't be worth anything.
Yeah. It seems very good at the surface, but then you look into it and you're like, nah, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. And it's a lot of, like I keep telling everybody, I'm like, it's going to be a lot of work for us internally to get what we need to do.
Yes.
Yeah. It's going to be a lot of work. We have to put the work in order to be able to get our setup just right, so that Copilot's going to be able to work and make sense. because if we don't, we are going to end up with that. We're just a giant colorful poo.
Right turd.
It is a good discussion point. I almost retweeted this one in Twitter, but then I realized that maybe if I shouldn't, because then people might get, Twitter is hard. People might get stuff out of context. So it is a good definition if you explain what is intended to explain. But poo in, poo out. That's just how it is. So make your data structural work. And by the way, good learning point related on SharePoint and SharePoint Premium and Copilot. It's capital P for SharePoint, not a capital P for Copilot.
Yes, I'm excited. I really excited to get my hands on SharePoint Premium because I want to see how it works, just because I know how incredibly useful it's going to be to people. And if I can show people some of that magic, we can get more people on board with it.
True.
So
and of course, looking into integration with Power Platform and everything else and Copilot, and there's so much cool stuff.
There's so much. I'm a big fan of SharePoint. And as much as people are like, no, we did this SharePoint. And I'm like, no. I don't think you understand. Pretty much that's where Microsoft is headed. It is built on SharePoint.
Always.
We've got streams. We've got all lists, all of it. It's all built on SharePoint.
True. That is true as well. I mean, it always depends on the perspective. Obviously, SharePoint people say that it's built on SharePoint, and then other people say that it's built on something else. Anyway, it is what it is. Now, to be fair,
it's built on servers.
It's built on serverless. It's built on Azure nowadays, so that's good. Anyway, I think we need to wrap up because we are otherwise going again way too long. We could have actually continued this for a long time. But thank you, Cat, for joining. We'll get you back on the show for sure in the future. Just to recap and see if you will be then employed by Microsoft. Who knows? If they come
who
up
knows?
with numbers. So.
It's still out there in the universe.
No. But you never know what's going to happen in future anyway. So we'll be lucky to have you. We'll invite you back on the show at some point to talk about the next phase and what has happened. But thank you for joining on this one. Really cool discussion.
Thank you for having me.
A bit more about the background and power of community.
Yes, community, because that's it. It's all about the people.
Yes, community is all about the people.
Yes, this is the People and Practices Weekly, right? That's what this call is?
Yes, People and Practices.
Yes. Cool. Anyway, thank you, Kat, on this one. We'll jump on the weekly articles in the show right after this one, and we'll stitch that to be a suitable video as well. But thank you. Really, really cool discussion. And all the best within the MVP world and within the product and the Power Platform. And we just need to get more access on everybody on this stuff, which was announced in Ignite.
I'm going to put it in one more time.
Thank you, Kat.
On 365 Copilot. All right. Thank you all for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks, Kat.
Bye.
Excellent. Thank you, Kat, one more time on the great discussion. Good to have you on a show and a lot of interesting discussions. There would have been so much to talk about. We completely ran out of time on this one again. So not that surprisingly
we were on time.
Fair.
We were on time.
But so on the articles this time, we were collecting some of the community articles where the hashtag PnP Weekly has been mentioned, and also other interesting articles within the past few weeks. So we don't go through Microsoft articles because we recorded earlier this week and we had a lot of Ignite news. And then for the next one, we'll get back on the normal cycle, and we can pretty much assume that the news cycles will slow down a bit on the IT announcements now after Thanksgiving. It was, by the way, before we go there, I have to say that yesterday was Thanksgiving, and it was surprisingly pleasant evening to work. So.
Okay, if you say so.
Yeah, I don't know if it's not necessarily visible for you, Waldek, but for me, it's like, wow. So
I mean, the way I see it is that I open Teams in the morning and it's not filled with stuff for me. Like, oh, that's
true.
Like, there's nothing like, is this thing on? Yeah, yes, it is. Oh, right. Yes. Everybody's going.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I had obviously there's some because China and India are working normally, but still, especially the evening of my evening located in Finland, that was interesting. It was super weird. It's like end of the world. Where is everybody? What's happening? Exactly.
You're like, what am I supposed to do now? Like, there's nothing for me to do.
Anyway, that was really good. Anyway, let me share my screen. So we'll actually go through some of the articles from this week. Let's start with one from Chandani Prapyapati, and she's from the Wow, my brain. I can see the logo in my eyes, but my brain is giving.
This isn't really relevant, but
I know, but now I'm actually rapid.
But now you have to know. Now
Yes.
you get this rare opportunity to see Vesa in action, spelunking and trying to find out who's from
Rapid
where.
circle. Yes, rapid circle. I
Okay.
do so much of writing people's names on podcasts and everything else. I should know, and I do apologize, Chandani, because we definitely should remember that Chandani was on the show a few times, few months ago as well. So anyway, this is about creating a first Power Apps component framework component with React, and Chandani is a really good example of a person who has a previous SPFX background and as a developer. And then so PCF components are actually also React components. So you can use the similar skills as you did with SPFX to build those experiences. And that extends those components and functionalities which are available within the Power Platform. So really, really cool stuff. You get your custom components available, and then you're able to start using them within the toolbar. It's, by the way, an awesome example of how the pro development from pro dev to low dev in the Power Platform. So the pro developers can create reusable code components, and then the low developers or the business developers can then enable or use them to be more efficient. Really cool. Thank you, Chandani, on this one. Awesome stuff. I think we should even talk more about PCF components every now and then, because it's a cool setup. Now, from Mark Rackley, there's 5 tips for embracing Gen AI, generative AI, in the Microsoft 365 without using Microsoft 365 Copilot. A lot of actually interesting things here. Obviously, in Power Platform side, AI is already available, and you can actually start using some of those components for free by part of your Power Platform license. And then there are other elements which we can take advantage of, already kind of analyzing the content and automatically making operations and actions based on the information, right?
Correct. It's always the thing, like, where you have a bunch of tools available to you, and at the end of the day, you need to choose, like, when does it make sense to apply which one. Like, if
Correct.
Not everything's a hammer and everything's a nail, right? So
True.
you need to, like with everything else, you need to become aware of all the different tools that are available to us and think through when does it make sense to use what.
Yep, absolutely, 100%. Now, on Paul Pollack's blog, we had a highlights from Ignite 2023 from his perspective, of course, and a lot of focus on AI and Copilot. Paul is working in a company who has access on Copilot, so he kind of realizes already what you can do and can use that on a day-to-day basis. Microsoft Copilot Studio, awesome thinking points and moving forward, and we can see this to evolve significantly in the future as well. SharePoint Premium, really cool. Also AI powered functionalities. So technically Microsoft Syntex is now renamed to be SharePoint Premium to provide a bit more context what this is all about. Syntax was not necessarily super clear from a naming perspective. Azure AI Studio, obviously big thing for creating those tenant level settings, and then Microsoft Copilot Dashboard for insights and new blogs that came out at the same time. Cool. Thank you, Paul, on this one. Really cool stuff. We also had a blog post from Sudharsan related on how to transfer files from local system folder to Azure storage via SFTP. That's actually really interesting as well. So how can we automate file deployments from the local file systems to the Azure side? And I guess we have some sort of a script here waiting, if I remember correctly. Oh, we're doing console application. Okay, that's fine as well. Absolutely, we can do the console application and code the automation as well. So basically, how can we deploy stuff automatically from on-prem? Quite actually typical scenario. You would do replication of your local stuff, whatever, to the cloud. Why not? Thank you.
I don't know. To me, storing files locally is like, wait, what?
Yeah, fair point. Fair point. That's true as well.
Ahead of the curve already. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, like if you've got files, like maybe one use case would be like, hey, you want to build something in a cloud, and you want to keep either in sync or upload a bunch of stuff to the cloud from a local store or from some other place. Totally. Right.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, and that one is, by the way, using the PnP Core SDK behind the scenes. That's obviously using Microsoft Graph as well. Now, on here we have a new blog post from no name, no, Elaine from Please Digital. We did act, yeah. And this is around SharePoint column formatting, lookup columns and special characters. So how to take those into account and how do they actually render them properly within here. So column formatting is a surprisingly powerful way of modifying the rendering of the list data within a SharePoint or in a Microsoft list. So really, really cool. Good reference point as well, how to handle those special characters based on this guidance. Good. Vardhaman had a new blog post related on Teams tab fails on load on the new Microsoft Teams desktop client.
Oh no!
Actually, quite a few people are running into this one, which I'm not that surprised. The solution is actually pretty simple, but technically, if you're using an older version of the Microsoft Teams JS SDK, or your code has not been prepared for this, you might be wondering on, okay, so wait a minute, I'm trying to figure out the Microsoft Teams host name. So am I actually hosted in Outlook? Am I hosted in Teams? Am I hosted in somewhere else? And it might not have actually had
Teams
the
Modern
new definition.
Now, why would you? That's something that intrigues me. Why would you want to specifically target code that runs in Modern? In other words, the new Teams. Like, why?
Maybe some features or capabilities only work in a classic, or some only work in the new. Theoretically, that. But I'm all with you. This wasn't necessarily the smartest solution from Microsoft. Oh, I said it out loud. Don't quote me on this. But again, so it's we need to be careful. So it's smart that there is a different definition for the modern host, but then again, this caused problems for anybody who did not have this in their code.
It's incompatible with every app built in the past. It breaks it. So
that's not a good thing.
Yeah,
we need to learn from this.
Yeah, and also you can imagine that if we have an org, right, that's heavily invested in Teams apps, and they have some really important apps that run on Teams, that reminds me so much about all the apps that have been built in the past, all the VSTO add-ins.
Oh yeah, yes, which still run the business.
There was new version that didn't do VSTO. I cannot upgrade because I cannot use my apps in the new thing, and that's something that we definitely didn't want, right? So
100%. Yeah, absolutely. So, but yeah, so not necessarily the well. Makes sense from a decision that whoever made the decision didn't consider the impact for existing solutions, and that was the downside in here. So not an optimal thing, but okay, we'll learn from this, and we'll definitely learn this internally in Microsoft as well. Now on the Message Center show, they had the latest episode 311. I think we're not catching up on them. I think there's something wrong, Waldek, in here. So we keep on, we are doing the show in a weekly basis. You might, no, never mind.
Maybe their weeks aren't as long.
That's But wait, if they do an episode once a week and we'll do an episode in once a week, oh, that explains.
Yeah, but if their weeks are shorter, then they get to do more episodes.
Daryl is based in Australia. That explains that.
Oh yeah, that's
shorter weeks.
That explains it. Yeah, yes, of course.
That's true.
Of course.
And especially
from the end down.
True. Oh, that's true. And especially, on summertime, it's wintertime, Australia, they have, I think it was summertime, they have 3 time zones. On wintertime, they have 5. So, that explains all of this. Time moves more faster on winter when it's actually summer over there. Because
it's always summer over there.
That is true. Anyway, on to episode 300. The latest news, obviously, from the Message Center for Tenant Admin, and they're again analyzing what's available. And there's a lot of new announcements. So there's, for example, one thing which I'm not sure if we talked about too much, but there's the name changes related on Planner and To Do, and then Microsoft Projects. It's all getting bundled under the Microsoft Planner name, which is interesting. There's a new logos on everything on that one. So, but and a lot of additional other announcements which have been done. Now, these are pre-announcements, roadmap announcements, which Microsoft will publish out, and then Daryl and Daniel analyze always on what is Microsoft sharing. So really interesting
what have
show,
we
by the
actually
way.
said? Yeah, exactly. Like we can learn like what have we actually said.
Yes. Now, on the video side, we have Laura Rogers had a video around discover how Microsoft Viva can transform your business and improve productivity. I really, really like these kind of videos because, again, it explains, well, not that kind of an ad.
You can play it
Yes.
soon, whatever.
Yeah,
it means.
I can play it. I have an English operating system, English keyboards, English everything, and then I see my ads in Finnish. It's
because you are in Finland. There you go.
I know, but that's too bad. Anyway, but she's walking through on the different Viva experiences and how they can improve the productivity, which is really, really cool, and what you can do with them. So thank you, Laura, on that one. Awesome video, or live stream originally, but now then a video. Shane Young had a new video around Power Platform Copilots you can use today, because there are Copilots in Power Platform site which are available today. So he talks about how can you use them, what's available, how they work, and all of that stuff. So thank you, Shane, on that one. That reminded me on something which I need to show in here, because just for the sake of it, because we don't have that many articles. Yesterday I ran into a folder. A folder in my file system where I had from 2013 Todd and Shane. So
from 2012, yeah. Wow.
2012.
But 11 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Almost 12, maybe. I don't know. Yeah.
That's pretty far. But yeah.
Time flies.
Good. Time flies, absolutely. And some people don't move away from the community, right?
Oh yeah.
So, April Dunnan had a video around AI ethics in the Spotlight Navigation Copilot, Responsibly Copilot Chronicles episode 3. I think we went through episode 1 and 2 already in the show, but we haven't mentioned episode 3. And AI ethics is actually really, really interesting topic. To be fair, first time I heard about the terms like AI ethics and everything else, it's like, But then when you start reading and analyzing and understanding the biases and all of that, which AI can come on with based on the training data, it's actually really interesting. There's a lot of interesting, technical challenges what AI providers need to think through, and we as who use that need to think through as well. So
but it's hard in a way, right? Because on one hand, you want AI to train on facts, but then you're asking it for opinion, and what is an opinion?
Sure.
Right? Like you form an opinion based on your experience. AI doesn't have an experience, so it needs to infer that from something, and that means from other opinions, right? And then it needs to be trained. Like, no, you cannot. You cannot do that.
The classic example is the image database of different kind of people and cultures and all of that, which has been used for training for the last 15 years, and that's biased. The source data is biased. So you need the baseline data which we use for baseline training and many of the AI things is always biased on certain direction, and that is not necessarily, definitely not a good thing. So, but it's interesting to understand how it actually works. Super beneficial, and what is the implications even for the society around that AI biases and ethics. So anyway, and then Paolo had a episode 270, accessing Microsoft Graph with managed identity within the Microsoft Azure. So really, really cool stuff. Is it in Microsoft? I think it's in the Microsoft. Well, anyway, using Microsoft Graph with managed identity. Definitely in Microsoft Azure. What else would it be? Of course, it's in Microsoft Azure.
Entra.
See, I'm talking to myself.
Entra identity.
Yes, that's true. Oh, that's true. Yes. Cool. Thank you, Paolo, on that one. And then the final thing, just to call out, we're getting a lot of samples. Where is our number now? Is it again gone? There we go. 1,769 total results already, which is really, really cool. A lot of updates across the board and a lot of new samples, especially right now from the Copilot site. So the whole category is relatively new since Ignite, because now it's finally available for some customers and partners, and then we can start seeing contributions from the community around the Copilot samples as well. And of course, the initial set of samples are seeded by Waldek, your team, right?
For that, yes. Although I mean, he created only few, but there is more coming. And again, like when we will get a broader adoption, that thing will skyrocket because everybody will build, will try to extend Pilot to their needs.
Yep.
And the cool thing is that you're doing with existing tech. So
Yes.
if you've built a messaging extension in the past, you can build a plugin. If you build a connector, which you can use already now, that's also a way to extend it, right? So as such, there's like, you don't need to learn much new things, right? Like you will need to learn about things like, how do you write proper name, description? How does that influence the prompt? But these are relatively small things comparing to knowing how to build a message extension. And if you learned that once in the past, you're already in the game. You don't need to learn anything new, and that is really, really cool.
Correct. And I think, we'll definitely have more coverage on the samples and Copilot extensibility as within the spring is coming and all of that. After the holiday season, we'll start explaining a bit more. But technically, two different extensibility points. One is seeding the data to the index, like in the search, which is the Microsoft Graph connectors, getting the data in, taking advantage of semantic search, all of that stuff. And then the other option is the plugins, which is basically the Microsoft Teams messaging extensions. And that's basically on runtime querying, and the graph is that you get the data in the system for analytics already when you are indexing the data. It will be in the system, right?
With
not plugin, graph connectors. You're getting the data inside of the search. You're getting in the index, and then the plugins, as in messaging Teams Teams extensions, messaging extensions. It's a runtime query of that information for the query what has been asked. So and those are the two extensibility points. Right now, there are actually other things which we're planning to do as well. So there's a lot of interesting scenarios related on Copilot and AI. But I guess that's it for now. Or do you have something to elaborate on?
Well, the one thing that I wanted to add, right, is like, even though you might not have access to Copilot from Microsoft 365 just yet, the cool thing is that you already, one, explore samples that we've got, and two, run them even. Maybe you will not be able to see them in Copilot itself, but you will be able to run them, execute them, learn them, and see them in action, either in M365 Search, Context IQ, or in Teams, right? And that will kind of, you can already ramp up your skills so that the moment you are ready or you have the access, you will be able to build from day one, as opposed to trying to wrap your head around it then. So, and again, these are all skills that benefit you already now, as opposed to like you don't need to wait with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, coming on that one, I will ask, watching the clock, but there's an interesting, we mentioned the semantic search and the value of graph connectors. How do you define what is a semantic search?
So semantics are all about the meaning, right? Like in the past, the easiest way is to compare it to a keyword, right? Like a keyword, if you do a keyword search, you need to use the exact word, and it will match the word or not. And sure, there are, ways around it with synonyms and language processing and like having like similar forms of the word, but still, it will not be able to infer meaning of a word. It's just a word. Right. Well, whereas with sense and semantic search, I think the easiest way to explain it is like, search will understand your intent, and then based on that, it will know that
context of those words rather than
exactly. Basically the meaning of them. Right. It will know what you mean, and then based on that, it was like, oh, you mean that. Right. So if you search for an issue, it will also know to look for tickets and bugs and problems and whatever else you might use as a word for a ticket, because it knows that is what you mean. You mean
not
something registered with a issue that you might have, right? So you no longer need to use the exact words, and that makes it really powerful. Because again, like if we think about all the GPT like experiences, it's chat, right? And the last thing you want is to kind of like, in order for you to be able to use it, you need to use the exact word, like the
exactly, the trigger words
thing. Exactly. Like, no, that's not like, if that is supposed to be commoditized and available for everybody, then it needs to be approachable, with all the different backgrounds, different level of even knowing a language.
Yep.
Right? Because if you are not native in English, well, maybe you don't know the exact keyword, but maybe you know the other word is kind of similar.
Synonym. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Or,
right. So I think that plays a really powerful role.
Absolutely, and there was a really good example. I think it was in a semantics index, whatever the mechanics, Microsoft Mechanics demo, where they actually showed it or explained it in a really well. That if you process the queries based on the keywords, like a capital of France, we know immediately that we're referring to a capital of France, but computer, if it's keyword based, is going to be searching for capital and a French as a separate things. So you're basically searching from the index all of the things, and then you get a France, and France, this is the Wikipedia France page and all of that stuff. But it doesn't understand that you're looking into the capital of France, which as a semantic syntax understand the context, and it will give you Paris as the answer and able to move forward from there. So there's not the individual keyword search, it's the whole context. Finally, we're getting there, actually. Really cool. Now, anyway, a lot of samples. I'm just realizing that we could have actually stopped sharing the samples already at this point. A lot of samples available here. Graph connector samples are the ones where you can actually already use them today to seed your internal business content and content directly to the Microsoft Search Index. That doesn't mean that you're training AI, not at all. That's not what it means. It's basically in the context of the Microsoft 365 search. And then as we are querying stuff, we are basically using that for grounding and the baseline information. And that's getting then transformed to a human understandable language. It doesn't, again, mean that the AI will get access on your data. No. That's not correct. How it's actually.
Well, I mean, AI gets access to your data, but you don't train them all, because at the end of the day, if you interact with AI, it will get access to it.
It will, because in the set of results, in the set of results from a business system, it will get them to the large language model, which will then translate that to a human understandable response. That's how it technically works. But so we're not using your data outside of your data boundaries, which is a really
exactly, and we know, and we don't use it to train the models, and it's not leaking outside. It's not becoming a part of the model so that it can be used by others. But like, no, that's not the case. It stays within the boundaries of your tenant.
Yes, that's the enterprise level guarantee what we're providing. Anyway, that sounded really bad. Anyway, bad. I'm bad. Cool. I think this is it for this episode. Thank you, Cat, for joining us. Really cool discussion. We'll get you back on the show as we discussed within the recording as well. Awesome to catch up as well and get the additional background where people are coming from and their thinking points. We'll be back within another PnP Weekly, I guess, within a week. Within a few weeks, we'll have actually holiday break, right?
Yes, but that is within a few weeks. In a week, we'll be back with another episode, with another guest, and more news.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Record videos, share samples, and do let us know. Help us to help you.
Help us to help you. Really cool. Thanks, everybody. Cheers. We'll be back. Bye-bye.
Bye.